I am a Norwegian and I sleep in a cold room. Last night the thermometer nailed to my porch rail read 9 above zero, and the window above my bed stood open the width of my thumb. Frost had drawn its feathers across the lower corner of the glass by morning. Under 3 pounds of wool I was warm as a loaf in an oven. Out on the covered porch, in a deep navy pram with the brake set, my daughter's youngest was asleep. Sheepskin under him, wool suit on him, a knitted cap tied under the chin. He had gone down at 12:30, and he slept 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is longer than he has ever slept in a heated room in his life. My daughter drank her coffee at the kitchen table and looked out at him through the glass every few minutes, the way her mother once looked out at her. An American friend of mine, a retired mail carrier from Ohio, saw this on a visit in February and could not sit still. He thought we had lost our senses. He thought the child would freeze and the old man upstairs would catch pneumonia, and the whole household was one bad night away from the hospital. He had it exactly backward, and I want to tell you why. Because the mistake he made is the same mistake that keeps a great many people your age lying awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling. The baby was not cold. I was not cold. My skin, under that wool, was the same temperature as his skin under his flannel sheets in his sealed bedroom in Ohio. The only difference between his bed and mine was the air. That is the whole trick, and everything else in this episode hangs on it. We are not toughening ourselves. We are not proving anything. We are not chasing some Viking notion of hardship. We keep the body warm, and we let the air stay cold. And the two things together do something for sleep that a warm room and a warm body cannot do. My father slept this way in a farmhouse north of Trondheim, where the only heat came up the stairwell from a wood stove 2 rooms away. He lived to 94. I do not claim the window did that, but he never in his life lay awake sweating and kicking off a blanket at 3 in the morning. And I have watched a great many people do exactly that in warm houses, and then blame their age for it. There is a reason the cold air works, and it is not folklore. It is thermometers and wristbands and a study out of Boston that I'm going to tell you about later. And that study is also going to correct me on one important point, so stay with me to the end.
Your body does not fall asleep at a temperature. It falls asleep on the way down. Somewhere in the evening, an hour or 2 before you get sleepy, your core temperature begins to drop. It falls something like 1 to 2 degrees over the night and bottoms out in the small hours. And that fall is part of the signal that puts you under and keeps you under. It is not a side effect of sleeping. It comes first. To make that drop, your body has to get rid of heat, and it does that mostly through the skin of your face, your hands, and your feet. Blood vessels near the surface open, warm blood comes close to the air, and the heat leaves. That is why your hands and feet feel warm just before you nod off. They are the radiators. Now picture a sealed bedroom at 78 degrees with a comforter on top of you. The radiators are running, but there is nowhere for the heat to go. The air around your face is already nearly as warm as you are, so the core temperature does not fall on schedule. You lie there. You turn the pillow over to find the cool side, which tells you that you already know all of this in your body, even if nobody ever explained it. Around 3, you throw a leg out from under the blanket, and around 4, you half wake and cannot say why. Now picture my room. 9 degrees outside, maybe 58 inside near the window. My body is wrapped in wool that traps a still layer of warm air right against the skin, but my face is out in the cold, and every breath I take is cold going in and warm going out. The heat has somewhere to go. It leaves at exactly the rate my body wants it to leave, all night without me doing anything at all. Cold air, warm body. Say it once and you have the whole method. The second thing that open window does has nothing to do with temperature. It moves the air. A closed bedroom with a person breathing in it all night gets stale in a way you can smell the moment you walk in from outside in the morning. Carbon dioxide builds.
Moisture from your own breathing builds, and the damp settles into the mattress and the corners of the window frame. Air that has been standing still for 9 hours is not the same air you lay down in. My wife, who was a practical woman and not sentimental about anything, used to say she could tell a shut-up bedroom from the hallway. She was right. And every morning of her life she went around the upstairs and threw all 4 windows wide for 5 or 6 minutes, even at 15 below, then shut them again and let the wood stove take the rooms back. The mattresses got turned back and aired at the same time. 5 minutes, and the whole floor of the house smelled like the outside instead of like people. That is not a health cure, it is housekeeping. But it is housekeeping that most of the sealed, weather-stripped houses I have visited in America have quietly stopped doing. And something is lost in it.
If it were only me and my father, you could put it down to 2 stubborn men. It is not. In this country, sleeping in cold air is institutional. It is written into the ordinary working day of the buildings where we send our smallest children. In a Norwegian daycare, on the ward for the children under 3, the midday nap happens outside. The staff dress each child, carry them down, tuck them into a pram or a sleeping sack in a rack of prams under a roof, and set the brakes. Then an adult sits with them, or watches through a window an arm's length away. This is not one experimental school in one town. This is the normal, boring Tuesday afternoon practice of the system, and it runs through the winter. There is a number that gets used for the limit, and it is worth knowing because of how it is used. The common rule of thumb here is -10 Celsius, which is 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Below that, most daycares bring the prams into an unheated hall or a cold shed rather than leave the children out in the open. The honest part is what sits behind that number. There is no national regulation setting it. Norway's own health information services say plainly that no national recommendation exists for how cold is too cold for a small child outdoors. 14 degrees is a convention, not a law. Every institution makes its own judgment on the day, and wind matters more than the thermometer, and a child with a chest infection stays inside. In Finland, a researcher named Marjo Turula at the University of Oulu built her doctoral work around this practice, going into homes and asking parents what they actually did and why, and measuring the conditions the children slept in. The temperature that came out of that work as the sweet spot for an outdoor nap was around 23 degrees Fahrenheit, not 50, 23. The reason parents gave her was not toughness. It was that the children slept longer, ate better afterward, and were easier in the afternoon, which is what my daughter would tell you, and what her mother told me in 1971, and what I would have told you about my own naps as a boy if anyone had thought to ask. This did not begin as folk wisdom. It began as public health. In the early part of the last century, when tuberculosis and rickets were still cutting through Nordic towns, the health authorities pushed fresh air and daylight at mothers as hard as they pushed anything, and the pram outside the kitchen window was part of that campaign. The disease is gone. The pram stayed. So, when I tell you I sleep with the window open, understand that I am not one eccentric old man. I am the last stage of a habit that started before I was born, was taught to my mother by a district nurse, and is being handed to my grandson right now by a woman in a daycare uniform with a clipboard and a pram rack and a set of rules she reviews every winter. That is the difference between a lifestyle idea and a tradition. Somebody keeps records. The cold room only works if the bed is right. Get that wrong and you will simply be cold, which is miserable and does nothing good for you at all. So, here is how the bed is built in my house, piece by piece. Wool next to the skin, never cotton. I sleep in a thin wool undershirt and long wool bottoms. This is the single item most people get wrong. Cotton takes up the small amount of moisture your body gives off in the night, holds it against you, and then chills you when the air moves.
Wool holds warmth even when it is slightly damp, and it does not stink after 3 nights the way a synthetic shirt does. In the daycares here, when they dress the children for the pram, the rule is the same, and it is said out loud. Thin wool innermost, never cotton. Layers over the top, not one heavy slab. 2 lighter duvets beat 1 thick one, because you can shed the top one at 3 in the morning without waking all the way up, and without ending the night bare. My grandmother's wool blanket lives at the foot of my bed, folded in thirds, and on the coldest nights it comes up over my feet and legs only. Your legs want more than your chest does. Warm feet. Cold feet keep you awake, and it is not just discomfort. Warming the feet opens those surface vessels and helps the whole heat-dumping process get going, which is why a pair of loose wool socks will often put a person to sleep faster than anything they could buy at a pharmacy. Loose is the word. A tight sock does the opposite of what you want. The window on the far wall, not over the head. Moving air across your face all night will dry your throat and stiffen your neck. In my house, the open window is across the room, so the cold air comes in, sinks, and mixes before it ever reaches the bed. If your bedroom has only one window and the bed is under it, open the top sash if you have one, or open the window in the next room and leave the bedroom door ajar. The width of a thumb is enough. This is not about a gale coming through the room. 2 inches of open window will change the air in a bedroom over a night. On a still night, I open it more. On a wind from the north, I open it less, and I have never once measured anything. Check the neck, not the hands. Hands and noses are supposed to be cool. If you want to know whether a sleeping person is warm enough, put 2 fingers at the back of the neck under the collar. Warm and dry is right. Cold is too little. Damp and hot is too much, and too much is the more common error by a wide margin, with children and with old men both. And the morning airing, which costs nothing. Windows wide for 5 minutes, bed turned back so the mattress can dry, then everything shut. Do it before the coffee is ready, and it is done for the day. Now I am going to correct myself, because the research on people your age does not say what a man like me might want it to say. In Boston, at the Marcus Institute for Aging Research at Hebrew Senior Life, a team led by Amir Bani Asadi put sensors in the bedrooms of 50 adults aged 65 and up, and tracked them with wearable monitors across roughly 11,000 nights of sleep in their own homes. That work was published in 2023. What they found is that sleep was most efficient and most restful when the bedroom sat between 68 and 77 degrees, with the real peak between 70 and 74. Sleep efficiency fell off as the room climbed past 77 toward 86 by 5 to 10%. But it also fell off below 68. That is warmer than the 60 to 67 degrees that sleep advice generally gives to younger adults, and it is a good deal warmer than my bedroom. The researchers also found large differences between individuals, and the lead author was careful to say he was reluctant to hand out a single number at all. So do not take a Norwegian's word over a thermometer and your own body. As you get older, your body regulates its own temperature less sharply than it did at 40. The blood vessels respond more slowly. A room that would have been bracing at 50 is simply cold at 75, and cold does real work on an old body. The World Health Organization's housing guidance puts the floor at 64 degrees for indoor temperature in cold seasons, lower being a genuine health risk rather than a matter of preference. Cold rooms raise blood pressure and thicken the blood, and the excess winter deaths in poorly heated housing across northern Europe are mostly heart and stroke deaths, not pneumonia. If you have heart disease, high blood pressure, Raynaud's or arthritis that stiffens in the cold, this whole episode is a conversation to have with your doctor before it is anything else. There is a fall risk in it too, and nobody mentions this. A cold room at 2 in the morning means stiff joints, poor balance, and a cold floor on the way to the bathroom. Falls put more Americans over 65 in the hospital than anything else on the list. If you try any of this, the path from your bed to the bathroom needs a light on a timer and something warm on your feet before you stand up. On the baby, I have to be blunter still. Do not take what my daughter does on her own porch and do it in an American town. In 1997, a Danish mother left her baby in a pram outside a restaurant in New York City, the way she would have at home in Copenhagen, and she was arrested and held in custody, and her child was taken into care. What holds a Norwegian pram rack together is a level of public trust and a set of institutional habits that do not travel in a suitcase. And the actual risk with a sleeping infant in cold air is not the cold. It is overheating and covered airways from too many blankets, which is the error people make when they are afraid of the cold. Two more things I will not sell you. Cold air does not prevent colds. Colds are viruses, and children in daycare get plenty of them, outside naps and all. And an open window in a cold climate costs money in fuel, which is a real number on a real bill. So keep the rest of the house at a sane temperature and never let the whole place drop where your pipes are. The part I stand behind without any hedging is the air. Moving, fresh, changed air in the room where you sleep. That part costs nothing and takes 5 minutes. Start by finding out what is actually happening in your bedroom, because almost nobody knows. A small indoor thermometer with a memory that records the high and low overnight runs, about $12 to $20 at any hardware store or online. Put it on the nightstand, not the hallway, and read it for a week before you change one thing. Most people who do this are surprised. The furnace is set at 68 and the bedroom is sitting at 76 with the door shut and a body in it. Then aim for the range the Boston study found, not for mine. 70 to 74 degrees at the pillow. If your room reads 80 at 4 in the morning, you have found the reason you wake up at 4 in the morning, and turning the thermostat down 3 degrees is free. Buy one thin merino wool base layer, top and bottom, $35 to $80 a piece at any outdoor store, and the discount houses carry them cheaper in fall. Sleep in it instead of cotton pajamas for a week. This is the change people report back on the fastest, and it is the one that lets you drop the room temperature without ever feeling cold. Add loose wool socks, $10 to $20, and put them on 20 minutes before you get into bed rather than after. Swap one heavy comforter for 2 lighter blankets. You almost certainly already own them. The point is being able to shed one at 3 in the morning with one arm and no lights. Crack a window an inch in a room away from your bed, or run a bedroom door open with a window open down the hall. Do it on a mild night first before you try it on a cold one. If your neighborhood or your allergies make an open window impossible, a small air purifier is not the same thing, but it is something. Air the bedroom for 5 minutes every morning. Windows wide, covers pulled back off the mattress, then shut it all. This is the free one, and it is the one I would keep if I could only keep one. And put a plug-in nightlight on the path to the bathroom and slippers where your feet land. $10 for a pack of 4. That is not a sleep tip. That is the difference between a cold room being good for you and a cold room putting you in a hospital bed. My grandson will not remember the pram on the porch, or the sheepskin, or the sound of the rain on the hood. He will simply grow up believing that the place a person sleeps ought to have fresh air in it, and he will open a window his whole life without ever thinking about why. That is how these things get handed down, not as advice, as the ordinary way the house is run.